Hello, everyone, and welcome to News and Views for April the 17th, 2025. Of course, tomorrow, April 18th, is Good Friday, so I want to wish everyone who celebrates a happy Easter. It looks like we're going to have some decent weather, or at least spring-like weather here, for people to get together with their families. Also happening this weekend, starting tomorrow, are the advance polls for the federal election. Our polling station here in Neepawa is Yellowhead Center. Wherever you are, you can certainly look into where that is for you. Those advance polls run until the 21st, and election day is on the 28th. We have now interviewed 4 of the 5 candidates for the federal election in our Riding Mountain constituency. So we will have those on YouTube for you this weekend, and they will be airing on the station starting on Monday. Hopefully we will get the 5th as well. We are doing whatever we can to get that information out there for all of our viewers and for everyone in our area. So keep an eye out for that. We have one sort of special item on our show today, and this is the opening of Northern Skies Through Women's Eyes, an art exhibit at Arts Forward. And it is so much more than just an art exhibit. So I want to go through a little bit about why this exhibit is so important. First of all, this exhibit is part of the Flash Photography Festival, which is taking place all across Manitoba. This is the first time that festival has expanded beyond the perimeter, and it takes place in different venues, and each one of them has a photography exhibit. So this is a part of that for the first time. It's also a partnership with a farmery. These designs, or some of these designs of the Aurora, were used on their Northern Lights lager. They're doing an artist series there and may want to continue with that in the future. So that is certainly a new application of these things. And of course, these are gorgeous Aurora photos in the exhibit taken throughout sort of Neepawa North, our area, but also going up north to Thompson. 4 different women artists sharing their views of the Aurora and talking about their process to get these photos. But the final part of this picture, and why this is such an important exhibit and important project, is the citizen science that was done alongside of it. This is with the Solar Max project. So this project has created a network of observers everywhere, observing the Aurora from the ground and from space. So what they've done is getting this wide range of auroras on the same days has allowed them to do things like 3D modeling of the auroras. And the science involved is, as we know, auroras can interfere with communications, with navigation systems, things like that. So this really just gives them a whole mass of information to work with to tackle these problems. And this information is also open source. So whatever has been gathered from this project that they were involved in is available to scientists everywhere to be able to use, to investigate, to learn from. So just a really incredibly beautiful exhibition, but so much more. I encourage everyone to go check it out. It is at Arts Forward through this month. I'm not sure what the ending date is, but it's certainly up right now to check out. And speaking of Arts Forward, I'm just going to do a little plug here. They are having a whiteout party, as many people are. Why I mentioned this one is this is actually a fundraiser. The proceeds are split between Arts Forward and our Habitat for Humanity project. This is not a one-time event. The first one is happening this Saturday. I believe game time is 5 p.m. And they will continue these as long as the Jets are in the playoffs. They will be continuing these whiteout parties. And the more there are, the more people that come, the more money goes towards these 2 exceptional organizations in our community, Arts Forward and Habitat for Humanity. So definitely check that out as well if that is something you're interested in. And I know it is an interest of many people in this area. Hockey and all you can eat, you kind of can't go wrong there. So if you have something that's going on that you want us to know about, if there is a public meeting, an event, a sports event, a concert, anything like that that is coming up, we want to know about it. Whether we can go there and film it, or whether you can send footage to us to show on the station. So you can reach us 204-476-2639 or by email nactv@wcgwave.ca. Thanks and enjoy the show.
So much for coming. We've had a great day having several classes from the schools in Neepawa here come to visit us. So we gave them just a little bit of a talk about the science of the aurora. So we were asked to share a little bit with you. It's just a very brief little science lesson, but it just helps give them perspective. This is our art. We're artists, but we're photographers. We're aurora chasers, and we're also citizen scientists who contribute to the study of the aurora. So it's been very exciting participating in all of this today, and we had hoped to inspire those students to get into one of those or all of those categories. So we're going to start with our explanation. How about this here? Of the aurora. So when we talked to the kids, we talked about the states of matter, the solids, liquids, and gases. But there's a fourth state of matter, which is called plasma, and that's what most of the universe is made out of, is plasma. And that's something that the scientists are very interested in. So I asked the kids, have you ever seen lightning? Lightning is plasma, and so they could all relate to that. And the sun also has plasma. So we talked about the solar cycle, 11 years, and the magnetic field in the sun is rotating along with the sun, and we have just hit solar maximum. So those magnetic field lines are all twisted up on the sun, and they form sunspots. And the sunspots, you guys have all heard of sunspots, I'm sure. So those sunspots, sometimes they erupt out of the sun, and they will burp. And sometimes they burp towards Earth. So
grade 2s to 3, like the burping.
So this is the sun. This is not to scale, by the way, but it happens to be the right color. So the sun will burp towards the Earth. Sometimes it'll burp way out in space, and we won't get to see the aurora for that. But if it burps towards the Earth, then we have 3 days, usually about 3 days notice, depending on how fast that explosion was on the sun. We usually have about 3 days notice, and we follow apps and groups and people that are able to predict when it's going to arrive and how big it is and how it's oriented, etc. And once it reaches the Earth's protective shield, the magnetosphere, it grabs a hold of that plasma and it funnels it into the magnetic field lines towards the north. So it's like a donut around the Earth, this magnetosphere. And it funnels that energy down towards the poles, the north and south magnetic poles, and then it interacts with the gases. So that's what makes the aurora, is the interaction with the gases. The gases glow. So I'm not sure of the elevation, but I'm thinking. So well, let's do one more thing. While you're there. Okay, once the plasma couples with the magnetosphere, it grabs a hold of it, and it's like a donut around the Earth, but then there's a magnetotail that's on the opposite side of the sun. So that plasma will grab a hold and it will push and push and push into the magnetotail. The farther it will push, the bigger the storm will be. And once it reconnects, and because this is a magnetic connection, once it reconnects, it goes back into the Earth's atmosphere, and that's why we get the bright aurora on the dark side, even though if it's daylight we can't see it. But that's why the aurora is bright on the dark side. So, okay, that's good. All right, and so when the charged particles are interacting with the gases, if it's between about 80 and 100 miles up, it interacts with oxygen and it is green. That is the brightest aurora. Above that, if it's interacting with oxygen, it's red. And sometimes it interacts with nitrogen, and then you get pink and blue and purple aurora. So we have lightened up most of our pictures so that you can see all of the colors in them, because we find all of the colors fascinating. Most of the time, or a lot of people take green aurora pictures and then you don't see the other colors, but we're fascinated by all the colors. And Elisa's gonna tell you a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's kind of the scientific point of view. I'm from Treaty 5, Thompson, Manitoba. So a belief about the Northern Lights up there. And this is something that I've received from my elder. And because I've received it from my elder, I'm granted the permission to share it with you. So in my area, it's believed that the lights, when they dance, is actually people that have passed away, so our ancestors are dancing above you, and if you whistle in the dance, they're trying to come down and say hello. So for us, it's very comforting. Not everybody has that teaching in the north, so not everybody agrees with photographing the Northern Lights. I have permission from my elders to do it, but not everybody has that permission because they've been granted and gifted a different teaching. And I respect that, but I have permission to do it through my elders, and often I will leave some tobacco on the land just to say thank you, and that's an offering to the Creator. So it's just a different perspective than the scientific one, but it's something that is really respected and shared in the North. So that's my teaching that I'm just sharing with you.
And all of our Aurora images here are photography. They aren't AI, they aren't painted, they are all photography. We are photographers. And we are also citizen scientists. I mentioned we were involved in a project last week called Solar Max Mission. We've got some posters up. And the rocket pushed Fram2 up into the air on Monday night, March 31st, last week. And it flew for 3 days. And it was the first human polar orbit mission. So it orbited over both poles as the Earth rotated underneath it. And there was a photographer on board. Her name is Janneke Mikkelsens, and there's a picture of her on there. And she was the photographer astronaut who was taking pictures from the spacecraft. They were flying just a little bit higher than the ISS. And so the three of us went on a mission last Thursday with Fran. Fran was with us. Where Fran is? She's here somewhere. Fran was with us.
I was in Mexico.
She was in Mexico. but
she was
not
mission
reporting.
control in Mexico.
Yeah, mission control. So we did a screenshot chatting with her, and we were able to catch Fram2 at 9:42 p.m. flying over. This Eagle Eyes spotted it because I was basket case running around like a chicken with my head cut off. She spotted it, and we got some pictures of Fram2 flying over. It just took like 15 seconds for it to fly over. It does one pass in 90 minutes, or one orbit in 90 minutes. And then there was another pass over top of Alberta. We were still in their field of view. And that was about 90 minutes later. So that picture in the center is a picture that we took right at that time. My camera wasn't aimed towards where the Fram2 pass was, but we had an active substorm at that time, so they would have caught some good substorm aurora, and during that pass. We won't see Fram2's pictures for a while. So what we're reporting auroras to one of the websites, Skywarden, who is collecting reports, and anyone who does a report that saw the aurora that night, we get into a draw for prizes, and I think one of the prizes, I can just tell a secret here, I think one of the prizes is one of the field guides, the Aurora field guides. I think it went up to space with them in Fram2. And so,
And Donna's being humble. She was part of creating that field guide that everybody's looking at. Yes.
yeah, so it was pretty cool that they were using it up in space, and that they were going to bring down, and it could be some prizes for us. So that's very exciting. So we're involved in a bunch of other projects as well, but that was the most recent one.
So can I add two things just quick, just what I've taken out of the 16 classes that we're in? Elisa is colorblind. So she does not see all of the colors of the aurora. And as you guys talked about as well, 3 of the photographers up there use the big cameras, and 1 just uses a cell phone. So
Jody uses a cell phone, and
use cameras.
Yeah, we use Canons, she uses Sony, and I usually have two cameras, one taking time lapse and one doing my creative pictures, and then I have, an Aurora Eye, which is a camera on loan, all sky camera that does time lapse. So we probably take about 3,000 photos a night. I think I've probably taken about 60,000 photos since July, for citizen science, so they have to be stored.
What's the optimum time to?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, and when it's dark.
Between sundown and sunrise.
Yeah, so in the winter time, we have longer nights, so there's a greater chance that you'll see the aurora. It's better for us to see it when there's no moon or when it isn't too bright. Up north, the bright moon doesn't make that big a difference, but down here it does. But it all depends on the solar activity and what is sent out. So when the sun sends out a CME, it burps, and you get these big storms. We've just hit solar maximum, so now we will have some big storms, but not necessarily as many. Now we will have coronal holes that will rotate around the sun, and the sun will, instead of burping, it'll go, and it'll send out solar wind that will give us aurora. It just won't be the big storms that we have at solar maximum.
So if you were to go out late at night, you wouldn't be able to see that. You would just see a bouncing of light. But you have to use a camera to capture the colors, right?
For me personally, I don't see any of the colors,
Right.
but some people do see the colors.
Oh, okay.
If you're up north and you can see the colors, you see them a lot more vividly up north.
Okay,
Down here, I don't see any of the colors, I just see white movement.
right.
I did see the great red aurora. That was this night on August 10th, 11th of last year. I'd never seen the great red aurora before. So red aurora above the green is one thing, but there's great red aurora, which you can see it's above. The sand is red, the water was red. I've never seen that before, but I could see it with the naked eye. Carl saw it too. Yeah, and that's a different type of aurora. It's huge and it's diffuse and it's fairly brief. But I could see that. It was very eerie. I could see the everything was red. But red light isn't as bright as green light.
How do you get the vivid colors then if they only look green?
The longer your camera is, it's the longer exposures. So between 1 second, 30 seconds,
The camera can stay open longer than our eyes can, so it's just pulling in more of the light that is there.
How often does maximum happen?
every 11 years.
Oh,
Go through solar cycle.
So we're done for 11 years.
Yes, but we still have, last solar cycle, we had some awesome aurora down in the downswing of the solar cycle. It's not done.
Okay.
It's there's always gonna be good aurora, but so if I'm correct, I took this at university, but I don't know exactly the details, 'cause that was a long time ago. But I believe this is at the point where the poles are starting to switch. Because the north and south magnetic poles switch every 11 years approximately on the sun. And
So sometimes when you're driving home, you see the green bouncing out there. Do you ever see the red, like with your naked eye?
I have, yeah, oh yeah.
I don't.
And if you stop and say, get out of your car and let your eyes adjust
Yeah.
to that pure darkness as opposed to, your dash lights and
Yeah.
everything, you're certainly gonna see more variations and colors. But any
Any light pollution gets,
any light pollution, whether it's just the dash of your car or your headlights, will skew it.
Aurora chasers really like it when you turn
Yes.
or yard lights if I'm
Yeah.
being lazy sometimes and I go out and I think it's nice, there's a few yard lights, it's like, oh darn it, turn those off.
Sometimes there's you get a really bright band and then there's a red or a pink fringe on the bottom. Has anyone here seen that?
Yeah.
So it's interacting with nitrogen. Sometimes I can see that color. but it's
The watermelon?
the
watermelon,
watermelon. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think we have any watermelon aurora here. But yeah, that's an exciting day to capture. Actually, I did get some watermelon this one, but they didn't do a good job of showing the pink. Because it happens so fast and I'm never ready for it.
Two quick questions, Jody, with the proliferation of smartphone technology, what's your setup?
It's not a lot of setup. I just use a tripod, because you have to, of course, have it as still as possible, and just make sure it's on night mode, and then you just need to change your exposure.
Are you using the Android?
iPhone.
iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then one other real quick kind of weirdo kind of question. Have any of you ever read any of the accounts of northern trappers or northern hunters and the kind of the legendary talk of they can hear the northern lights? What are your thoughts on that?
The people in the north talk about it, but it's a lot of the Inuits, and there's actually tales of with a walrus skull.
Okay.
And they believe the tale comes from the noise of the auroras. But it's mainly from the Northwest Territories that those legends come from.
Yeah.
Where they hear the noise.
Yeah.
I've heard scientists talk about it and they haven't, there's very little claim to what is actually happening. The one thing I've heard is that it's not the aurora itself that's making the noises, it's the changes in what's going on in the air that's causing these sounds. But I have recorded when the pulsating aurora is happening at the end of the substorm, the recovery phase, I've recorded the sounds from power lines. That's the sounds that it makes, and we have a friend that was trying to get observations or recordings of it, and I got it just over a year ago, and it was incredible to hear it. But sometimes power lines just bust anyway, so I thought, oh, I hope it wasn't just my imagination. But then I was out about a month or so ago, and I was out of Beaver Pond taking pictures, and suddenly I started hearing noise, and I thought, oh, is there an animal around following me around here somewhere? Because sometimes there is. And then I realized it was the power lines and the aurora was pulsating. So I thought, okay, it's not my imagination now. So I waded through snow and stayed right fell, and I'm trying to get through the deep snow with my camera sticking above me. It took me about 15 minutes to get to that power line, but I did get a recording of it. But other than that, to say an actual sound, there's many different descriptions of the sounds of whooshing and what other sounds, but crackling. Yeah, but I've never heard it.
Okay.
What about unusual shapes, like the head of an eagle, spiritual kind of
Yeah,
anomalies?
I've
You
captured
must
some.
have found some with 60,000 pictures a year.
Oh yeah.
Lots of different
Yeah.
shapes for sure.
Yes, there's tons of when the aurora is above you, when you can turn your camera up and catch the corona, that's when you get all those amazing shapes. And yeah, I've got some pretty cool shots of some pretty amazing corona and some angels and some I think angel is probably the one that is most described in some of those corona photos.
Kind of gives you the feeling like being out in the ocean in a rowboat, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, previous to 2014 when I started chasing the aurora, I just wanted to sleep at night. I didn't want to go outside to see hail bop in the 90s, and now I regret it.
When you said that the great red, or whatever, you said it's just for a brief time, seconds, minutes, what are you talking?
I think that one lasted, was it maybe 5 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Kishu Fall one was during that same night.
That's beautiful.
So she was down here and I was up north, but it's the same night.
Yeah, and like the whole scene was red. The falls were red. Like she's got some amazing pictures Someday I should do a time lapse with.
So we can show it. I didn't see it though, my husband wanted to do that.
She didn't know it was red.
That's too bad.
I've done some silly things with my Aurora. That was red.
So each of you, where's your favorite place to take photographs of the aurora? I don't want you to give up any secrets.
Oh, no.
I like old barns and things like that, elevators, that's my favorite.
I personally go to Setting Light because we have our cabin there, so it's just peaceful for me. Donna's come up chasing there, Tracy's come, so like the picture of the dock there, that's my cabin area. So I like that little area with the trees and the water and the docks.
Yeah, I got that picture there too. That's the favorite spot for sure.
Where's your favorite spot?
Yeah, just outside the door here and up, there's a picture looking up, and just green aurora, not that fantastic, but the spruce tree silhouettes just, they get us every time.
And my favorite, I don't know, I like, of course, taking iconic things around Neepawa, but I really enjoyed going to Hollywood Beach, and I think that was probably my favorite setting, but that was also a spectacular show, so that,
Where is Hollywood?
north of,
North of Langrooth,
Oh.
yes, on Lake Manitoba.
So do you get alerts then when these shows are gonna be in the next few days?
Yes, we follow different people online, and we follow the apps that that alert us to what's happening in the aurora, or if there is, if there's an active sunspot rotating into view that may erupt and send something our way, we'll be following that. Space Weather Live is probably the most common app that most people use that sends information as it happens, and yeah.
even if we get the predictions kind of 3 days out though, there's no guarantee, and also depends on the clouds and so many moon and so many other things.
There's space traffic too, they'll tell you it's going at a certain speed, but they gotta go through things along the way, so you can't really predict it, I don't think that well.
No, but if it looks like it's really good, then you pack up and you go out and you wait.
Yeah.
And usually when I'm out, I have one bar of cell service out in the country, so I don't really watch those apps. I may communicate with a couple of people, but that's the strongest cell services I have. I'm out taking pictures, I wait. A substorm usually lasts around 3 hours, that's approximate, and the dancing is probably 10 to 20 minutes in that period. So a good portion of that is waiting, so for the substorm to happen.
So do you have a day job? You call in sick?
She's working full-time as a teacher, and she's out, she's in Thompson, so she sees Aurora all the time, so she does a lot
I
of.
never call in sick.
No, especially if you post a picture, you're gonna get called on that. No, we were just out to chasing Aurora, but I was an admin assistant at Gladstone Elementary School until 2 years ago, so I was doing it one time. It was November 4th, 2021, November 3rd, 4th, 2021, and it was all night Aurora. And I went to sleep, I had to work the next day, I went to sleep for a couple hours, and then I got up and was taking pictures until 10 to 7 in the morning when I had to come home and get ready for work. And well, you gotta go, you've told everyone you're out watching Aurora, so you can't go and sleep. So yeah, I had to coast in the afternoon.